Shalom. It was an incredibly harrowing meeting. Ephraim had sat and listened to his staff argue both sides of a sticky situation for over 3 hours. The arguments had gotten contentious, and voices had even been raised. Ephraim had listened carefully, and when it seemed like every avenue had been examined, he had announced that he needed time to reflect, and when he had reached the conclusion, he would call his staff and tell them his decision. Ephraim had gone up to the kotel to contemplate the best course of action, and as he sat and thought, he reflected on this week's Sedra and Yosef's interaction with Paro and his dreams. Yosef listened to Paro's dreams and advised Paro, let them collect all the food of these coming 7 good years, and let them gather the grain under Paro's hand, food in the cities, and keep it. Thus the food will remain as reserves for the land for the 7 years of famine which will be in the land of Egypt, so that the land will not be destroyed by the famine. The matter pleased Paro and all his servants. From these psukim it seemed that all of Paro's court was on board with Yosef's plan. Hashem continued his narrative by listing that after his advice had been given, and the advice had pleased Paro and his court, Paro said to his servants, "Will we find anyone like this, a man in whom there is a spirit of God?" Scholars take 2 approaches to examining Paro's need to ask his servants whether they knew of anyone like Yosef. The Ramban explained that since Yosef was a Jew, the Egyptians looked down upon him, and Paro didn't have the political capital to use Yosef's advice without his officers' consent. Therefore, Paro asked them for their consent before moving forward. A second explanation is that Paro was showing off, essentially taking credit for finding Yosef. Both approaches show a sense of insecurity on Paro's part and a lack of basic leadership skills. A leader acts decisively, taking into account different sides to each situation and different ways to act, and then deciding on the best approach. While the process of understanding different options requires advisors, once the leader makes a decision, it is his and his alone, and he must own it. There is no room for gathering support and approval. At the same time, a leader must let his actions speak for themselves. It is the result of one's decisions that define their leadership, not their grandstanding. When a leader needs the approval of others or boasts about their accomplishments, it reflects the lack of security in their own decisions and acts as a disqualifier as a leader. Ephraim knew that he must not act like Paro. He had made his decision. Like many times before, the solitude of the kotel, along with the peace of the Torah thoughts, helped him envision a proper path forward. Ephraim knew that he would call everyone together, explain why he thought one side's arguments had more merit, announce his decision, and inform everyone that he expected them to follow it. It's a nice lesson in leadership from this week's Sedra. Shabbat Shalom.